I'm honestly tired of lenders misleading and ripping people off. They bury their fees in fine print, send a pile of documentation, and give no real explanation to the consumer. And that consumer usually moves forward without really understanding what they're being charged. And the truth is, many lenders only care about getting you to sign and not breaking down your options. I've been a loan officer for over 13 years across multiple states. I've helped hundreds of home buyers get into homes. And today I'm going to show you 4 things that you absolutely must check to ensure that you're not getting ripped off. Most people don't know to check the 4th one, but if you don't, the first 3 really don't matter. And this is the loophole that a lot of shady lenders use to mislead their clients. You can check all 4 of these things pretty easily, and it's going to help you understand the true cost of your loan, and will also help you compare multiple lenders. Okay, so you can check all 4 things here on this loan estimate. All lenders are required to send you a loan estimate when you officially apply for a loan, and they send you out a loan disclosure package where they have to break down all their fees. So this one is an example that I pulled from the CFPB website. First thing you'll notice, it's over 10 years old. They probably need to update their example. And because it's 10 years old, the rate is honestly way lower than where market rates are at now. But this is still a good example of what a loan estimate is. It's the exact form that lenders have to use. And so this is the form that you're going to get when any lender gives you an official quote. Page 1 basically breaks down your loan amount, interest rate, what your total monthly payment would look like, and all the cash that you need for closing, which would include your down payment and closing costs. Now, page 2 is going to list all the closing costs of the loan. Section A shows the specific lender fees. That's very important to understand because really the lender, for the most part, only has control over Section A. When you buy a home, all these other sections are mainly third-party fees like title and escrow fees, appraisal fee, first-year homeowners insurance, that type of stuff. And all that stuff is generally going to be the same regardless of which lender you go with. So what you really need to compare when you're comparing lenders is specifically Section A. So sometimes clients will say, hey, Section C here, where it shows the title and escrow fees, you're estimating a higher amount than the other lender, so I want to go with that other lender. But really, the lender doesn't have control over those fees. And so really, you need to zero in on Section A here. Okay, so the very first thing that you need to check, going back to page 1 here, is the loan program. So right here, it says loan type in the top right corner, and this one in the example is conventional. So there are other programs. There's not one size fits all. Not one is always better than the other. But like another program that's very common is an FHA loan. So if 2 lenders are offering you a rate of, let's say, 3.875 in this example, and one is conventional and one is FHA, the costs are going to be very different between those 2. So, if you're comparing lenders and you're trying to see who's giving you the better rate, the first thing you need to make sure is that you're comparing the same, they're offering the same program for each of those rate quotes. The second thing that you need to check are discount points. These are upfront fees that a lender will charge in order to give you any given rate. So going back to page 2 of the loan estimate, in Section A here, under origination charges, the first item here says 0.25% of loan amount. In parentheses, it says points. So those are discount points. In this case, it's a quarter point, which is $405. So this loan amount is $162,000. And so that means that a quarter percent of $162,000 is $405. So they're charging a quarter percent, which is a $405 upfront fee that you would pay at closing in order to get that rate. Now understand this. Lenders do not just have one rate that they can offer you. So like a lot of the times clients will call me and say, hey, what's your rate? And there's not just one rate that's available. Lenders can offer multiple rates. They can offer sometimes dozens of different rates, ranging from low to high. So it all comes down to the amount of discount points that you pay. And so this is one of the biggest tricks that lenders use. They'll quote you a super low rate, knowing that you may only focus on the rate, so you choose them, only to find out later that there are thousands of dollars in discount points buried into that loan estimate that they never explained to you. Okay, the third thing that you need to check for is any fees that the lender's charging in Section A in addition to discount points. So in this example here, we're looking at application fee of $300, underwriting fee of $1,097. So these fees are usually going to be different from lender to lender. So like for example, we have $495 for processing, $500 for underwriting. It's pretty much always the same. And so sometimes lenders will say, hey, this rate that I'm quoting you has 0 discount points. And sometimes the buyer will be like, great, no fees. But turns out they had some like $4,000 origination charge. So they have 0 points, but they have a $4,000 origination charge. So all that really matters here is the dollar amount in Section A. you as a consumer, you don't care what they call the fee, you just care how much it's going to cost you in total. So you need to compare not just discount points, but you need to compare any other fees that they're charging. And basically that will show in section A and the total fees here. In this example, it's $1,802. But like, let's say you had two lenders offering you the same rate, same program at 3.875%, and the total fees with one lender were $1,802 here, and the next lender, the total fees were $3,000. Well, you know that next lender is charging you an additional $1,200 in upfront costs in order to get the same rate. So this first lender that's charging you $1,802 would be the better deal in that case. Okay, now on to the most important thing, the thing that shady lenders do not want you to ask, and a lot of the times do not want you to know, and that is the rate locked? You need to ask, is the rate locked? Whether or not the rate is locked is going to be reflected in page 1 of the loan estimate. So in the top right-hand corner here, there's a section that says rate lock. In this example, it says yes until 4/16/2013. Again, because this is over 10 years old. But so it'll show the locked through date. Usually it's good for 30 days. But the thing is, if the rate is not showing locked on this loan estimate, the lender can put whatever they want on there with basically no repercussions. So they could put a rate of like 3% on here, and they could put 0 discount points. And you might think, wow, that's an incredible option, I'm going to go with them. But if they didn't actually lock in the rate, they can totally change all that on you later. So here's how this plays out. You find a home, you go under contract to buy. Usually it's a 30-day period, meaning you agreed with that seller that you're going to get to closing within that 30 days. The lender sends out the loan estimate, the 3.875, shows you the fees, everything looks good. And you're like, cool, I'm going to go with that. You go 3 weeks into the process. Now you have about a week to get to closing. You're almost done. And the lender says, hey, by the way, now it's time to lock. And that 3.875 went up to 4.25. And by the way, the fees went up $2,000. And you're like, what? You never told me anything about locking. Like I thought it was locked. And at that point you have you can either choose to go with that option, or you're probably not going to be able to close in time. You wouldn't really have time to start the process over with a new lender. So a lot of the times when that happens, the consumer will just go with whatever they say. They'll take the higher rate, take the higher fees, and just have to move on so that they can close on their home. And this is a huge way people get ripped off. So when you go under contract to buy a home and that lender sends you a loan estimate, you need to demand proof that the rate is locked in. And so if they lock in, like sometimes they'll send you the loan estimate, it's not locked, and they'll say, okay, here's the options. If you decide that works for you, we'll lock it in. And then you say, okay, great, lock it in and show me proof. Then they need to lock in the rate immediately, and they'll send you a new loan estimate showing proof of the pricing that was locked in. So once the loan estimate reflects that it's locked on that page 1, they have to basically honor that pricing, that rate, and those fees. And it could change in the event like something out of their control changed and it was on your end, like let's say your credit score went down or you had to change your down payment to a different down payment percentage, then it could still change. But assuming you didn't change anything like that, they have to honor that pricing. So to wrap up, the way to protect yourself is check the loan program that they're offering, verify if there are any discount points, verify what other fees they are charging, and make sure that they lock that rate and that pricing in. If you miss any of these, it could cost you thousands of dollars, and you might not find out until you're almost at the finish line on your home purchase. And if you'd like me to review your loan estimate and help you understand the fees and the rate and all that, I'd be happy to help you understand it at no cost to you and no obligation.